is Megalopolis, written and directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Coppola first got the idea for this movie almost 50 years ago, back in 1977, when he was working to finish filming Apocalypse Now. Over the next decade, he began to write Megalopolis, initially planning to have it filmed in 1991. But he had to focus on other features at that time because he had grown a considerable debt from some of his other box office failures. After countless setbacks and delays, the film finally started to materialize in 2019. It was filmed in 2022 and was subsequently released in September of 2024. Megalopolis marks the first film Coppola has directed in nearly 13 years. The movie is described as a Roman epic film that takes place in an alternate present-day American republic in the city of New Rome. The film follows Caesar Catalina, a genius artist and city planner who plans to build a utopia within New Rome, dubbed Megalopolis, using a living building material called megalon, which he invented. His rival Mayor Frank Cicero seeks to keep things the way they are, enacting a smear campaign to ruin Catalina and foil his plans for Megalopolis. The mayor's daughter Julia Cicero doesn't trust Caesar Catalina and attempts to spy on him for her father, only to fall in love with Caesar as she begins to work with him and gets to know his true character. I cannot express how disappointed I was by this movie. This movie felt as if someone woke up from a dream that they half remembered, told that dream to a friend, who told it to another friend, who told it to Francis Ford Coppola, who decided to make a movie out of it. Multiple times, my jaw physically dropped because I was in awe of how terrible some of the scenes were. It made most of the theater and me laugh out loud at times because of how atrocious it was at parts. And despite that, it was also quite boring. The 2 hour and 20-minute runtime felt closer to 3 because it was devoid of any real drama. Any conflicts introduced would have almost no build-up, so they lacked tension, and then they would be resolved within 5 minutes, so there was no lasting turmoil to keep you engaged. This movie is a fable and often not meant to be taken literally, but unlike similar films based on ancient texts, it completely neglected to make the story interesting. Without knowing the myths they're based on, you could watch The Killing of a Sacred Deer or The Lighthouse and still be very entertained. You could feel the drama and the tension that those movies cultivated so well. That just wasn't the case for Megalopolis. I was very excited about this movie when I first heard about it because it had the incredible film legend that is Francis Ford Coppola writing and directing. Because it had a star-studded cast including Adam Driver, Giancarlo Esposito, Aubrey Plaza, and Nathalie Emmanuel, just to name a few. And also because it sounded like an awesome concept when I first heard rumblings of the plot. Unfortunately, within the first 10 minutes, I realized it would not come close to living up to my expectations. Ultimately, I was just really disappointed. I couldn't really believe it was as bad as it was. There really was just so much wrong with this movie. From start to finish, it was hard to follow. Plot devices would be introduced, like Catalina's ability to stop time, only to have limited relevance for the remainder of the movie. And I understand it was supposed to be sort of a literal representation of an artist's ability to stop time with their work, but it just didn't work for me. It ended up feeling very corny and severely lacking depth. The editing often further added to the confusion because a lot of the shots and cuts that were used within scenes were totally incongruous, making it unclear where a character was or who they were even talking to. Which would be fine if it were for artistic reasons, if it helped to emphasize the aesthetic of the film or helped to enhance the drama. But unfortunately, I just didn't get that sense. To me, it felt more accidental and chaotic than it did carefully crafted and well thought out. When practical effects were used, they worked well, but when CGI was used, it looked terrible. Music used in the movie was all over the place, and more often than not, it actually took me out of a scene rather than drawing me in. The dialogue was bizarre, and it rarely accomplished the two key goals that it should, developing the characters and driving the plot forward. A lot of the writing was just clunky, and the actors were forced to try to make it work, but that proved to be a nearly impossible task. Overall, the acting wasn't great either, which is shocking given how many extremely talented actors were in the film. It all felt somewhat like a student film with performances you might expect to see at local theater, not from a cast that has multiple Emmy and Oscar winners. There were some baffling montages throughout the movie, and that even further added to the absurdity of it all. I think one of the biggest positives I can find in this movie is that a filmmaker had a vision, And he believed so wholeheartedly in that vision that he spent over $100 million of his own money to bring that vision to life. Whether I like the film or it does well at the box office, it doesn't really matter. That commitment to bringing that movie to life is commendable. Even if they were few and far between, there were moments where it looked visually beautiful. It is authentically original. While it may be unhinged, there truly isn't much like it that I can point to. And I very much appreciate Coppola's willingness to experiment with this movie, including a scene where Caesar Catalina breaks the fourth wall, having an interview with a live participant in the theater is very cool to me, and it's a novel idea that I've never seen done before. I think some of the messaging was also very positive, highlighting the importance of artists and innovation, criticizing those committed to the status quo, and encouraging people to strive for a better future. But overall, it was just done so poorly, much of that was just kind of lost on me. It was so convoluted, and the glaring issues the film had created a near constant distraction that made it impossible to focus on much else. So if you really want to support original movies and artists, and you have a lot of free time, and you want to watch a train wreck for a little over 2 hours, go see Megalopolis. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, add a comment letting me know what movie you think I should review next, and subscribe to my channel. I'm working to put out a movie review each week, so subscribe to stay tuned. Thanks, y'all.